Bringing hope to many around the globe, transforming lives into legacy. Living Word with Pastor Mensa Otabil. And now, today's word.
Continuing what I started last week on managing difficult relationships. Sooner or later, you're going to find it difficult to relate to somebody. Sometimes it's not somebody you hate, but somebody you love. But you find there are difficulties in that relationship. It could be a marriage situation. It could be with your siblings, your brothers and sisters, your parents, your good friends, your colleagues in the office, people you go to school with. But you find that there are difficulties in the relationship because as we grow as human beings, things change amongst us and within us. And sometimes people that we used to get along with very, very well, we find it very difficult to get along with them. So, but then you have to manage those difficult relationships and you have to find God's way of dealing with them. Genesis chapter 2, and I'm going to go over some of the things I said last week, and I'm going to go into detail with some of the difficult characteristics that sometimes we have to manage. Genesis chapter 2 verse 18 gives us, I think, the basis for human relationship. Genesis chapter 18, God has created a man, one man, Adam. Adam is self-sufficient, supposedly. He has everything within himself, but Adam is having problems with relationship because everything around him is not like him. He has animals, he can command them, but they are not humans. He can't fellowship with them. He has trees, he has rivers. He can't talk to them and converse with them. So something in Adam's life prompts God to make an intervention. And God says in verse 18 of Genesis chapter 2, "It is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him." It is not good. That does not necessarily mean it is bad, but it is not good. It's not the best. It's not the optimum of life to be a lone ranger, to be alone. And sometimes there are moments in your life you need to be alone, but it's not the best for you always to be alone. So God set out to solve the problem of Adam. And eventually he made a woman for him. That was the first human relationship among humans. Although the context immediately is marriage, it also sets the basis for all human relationships. And three things are important about these things. First, we have to understand that we are created for relationship. Every human being is created for relationship. We are not created to be alone. We are created to be with other people. It's not good for the man to be alone. And in every relationship, three things are very important. Number one, the relationship should solve the problem of aloneness, which is what God wanted to solve, the problem of aloneness, and that is solved with friendship or companionship. So for a relationship to be good, there must be friendship or companionship. Secondly, for a relationship to be good, it must be a helpful relationship. God says, I'm going to make him a helper. So the relationship must provide support. It must be a supportive relationship. It must not be a relationship that pulls down, but a relationship that anchors, a relationship that builds up and helps us. And thirdly, if a relationship is going to be positive, it must have respect. God says, I'll make for him a helper comparable to him, somebody on his level. You can't have a relationship with somebody you think is lower than you. Because once you think somebody is lower than you, then there will be no respect. There is disrespect. So the relationship must be with somebody who is comparable. That doesn't mean they have the same position as you or the same qualifications as you, the same degrees as you, but we are all created in the image of God. We are comparable, and so there is respect, whether the tribe is the same or not. But sometimes relationship gets difficult, and I gave you the characteristics of a difficult relationship. What's a difficult relationship? 4 things. 1, it disturbs your soul. 2, it drains your energy. 3, it diminishes your value. And 4, my most favorite description, it drives you crazy. It's a relationship just drives you crazy. You see somebody and you just go mad. Unfortunately, you can't throw the person away because he may be your sister or your brother or a good friend or a spouse, and you have to deal with that relationship. Or somebody you work in the office with, his smile annoys you, even his color combination offends your sense of style. And I said that there are basically 4 kinds of difficult relationships, and you may define more for yourself, but there are basically 4 kinds of difficult relationships. The first one is what I call controlling relationships. Controlling relationships. We looked a bit into that the other time, but we'll look into that a little bit closer today. Controlling relationship. This is a relationship that controls, that suppresses and oppresses. Oppresses, suppresses, and compresses. The idea of a controlling relationship is to sit on you, keep you from self-expression. And there are different kinds of controlling relationship. And I'll give you about 4 kinds of controlling relationship. The first one is what I call the volcanoes. Who is a volcano? A volcano is a person who frequently erupts in anger. These are people who are very temperamental, and you can't predict when they'll be angry. One moment they are smiling, next moment they just go boom. And they're angry and shaking, and their eyeballs are popping out, and the veins in their neck are distended. Their eyes are bloodshot, and sometimes they are shaking. And they intimidate you. So even if you have a good opinion, once they get into the anger mode, you just have to be quiet and listen to them. It's a controlling relationship. And if you are around people like that, most of the time you are afraid with what you say and what you do, because you don't know when they will be offended. And when they get offended, you are not able to stand it. And when people know that they are able to control you with anger, they use it. And it could be your boss, or it could be somebody else, but they get angry and dominate you with their anger. Or probably you are like that. Remember, it's not they, it's us. Maybe you control people with anger, and you bully them with anger. And when people are volcanoes, it's very difficult to deal with them, because they always make you feel nervous and uncertain. And you can't predict what's going to come next. The next kind of controlling relationship are people that I call overseers. Who are overseers? Overseers are people who want to know every detail of other people's lives. They want to know everything. They want to ask every question. And they just pry into your life so much so that you feel very, very uncomfortable. Every little thing, they want to know about it. Who called you? What was the call about? And what was that? And what's that? And who are you sitting in the car with? And that's an overseer attitude. I'm not saying that generally inquiring about details is bad. It's good for us to inquire. Definitely, if you are a wife and your husband always has a certain lady sitting by him in the front of the car, I mean, you have to ask questions. That's normal. But sometimes it gets overboard, and people become very, very dominating in their inquisitiveness into other people's lives. And they do it in such a way that you always feel uneasy when you are relating with those people. That is an overseer attitude, and it's a controlling relationship. Third kind of controlling relationship are the power grabbers. The grabbers of power. They will emerge later in competitive relationship. But power grabbers, they are people who usurp authority in every situation. Wherever they are, they want to be masters. They can't take number two. They have to be number one. If you are in a group, they think their ideas are the best. Their opinions are the best. What they think is right. If you don't agree with them, you are wrong. They are right. Power grabbers. People who always say, as for me, I like telling the truth. Yes, it's good to say I like truth. The truth is your side, but your side is not always right. My side is not always right. I may be wrong. That's what I think. That's what I feel, but I may be wrong. But when people want to be the number one, wherever they are, they control other people's feelings. And sometimes when you are around such people, you always hide in your corner and you never come out to express yourself. Then you have, in controlling relationships, people that I call steamrollers. Who are steamrollers? Steamrollers are people who are insensitive to others and bully their way through all the time. They don't care how you feel. And they bully their way through and get what they want, even if it's hurting everybody. And sometimes they hurt and destroy a lot of people. Now, when you are around people like that, especially if you are a quiet person, it becomes very difficult to relate to people like that. I remember when I started working in the civil service, I had a boss who was quite a tough, difficult person. And when I started working, everybody was complaining about him. And the thing about most offices is people complain quietly, but they don't tell the truth when the situation comes. So this man, I think, has shown that character for a very long time, and really made everybody's life very, very difficult. But when we went for staff meetings and he wanted to know, so what do you think? Everybody is quiet. Nobody talks. And then after staff meeting, people are talking. We didn't. But then staff meeting, quiet. So that's timidity. So I remember, I mean, that was a culture in the office, and I went there and people were complaining and so on. And one day we went for staff meeting, and I was quite new to the office. So he said I had done something that was wrong. So he was on me, and this young man, and just giving to me. And normally when he does it, everybody becomes quiet. So after he finished, I said, sir, I appreciate that, about what you said, but I don't like the way you are talking to me. That's what I told him. And everyone said, hey, shh. Because they were expecting some bombs to hit me. And I said, I don't like the way you talk to me. He said, what do you mean? I said, sir, I'm also a human being. And you have a point, I have a point. So just talk to me in a way I can understand, and I can understand and I can reason. You don't need to be angry in order to put your point across to me. The place was quiet. The whole office was quiet. Hey! I mean, it's almost as people were quiet and looking at me. And then the man, he went blustering his way through. But after the staff meeting, he came to see me. He said, Mr. Otabil, I like the way you spoke. I like the way you spoke. I wish everybody would speak their mind that way. And we became the best of friends. I didn't scream, I didn't shout, but I just told him, I think we can handle this in a better way. He is a boss, and maybe he felt that the only way to boss over people is to be angry, which is how some of us feel the only way to be boss over people is to be angry. All right, I won't go to, because I will talk about solutions later, so I don't want to talk about solutions now. Okay, second kind of relationship is competitive relationships. And we talked a bit about them. Competitive relationships are very difficult to handle because most of the time it can be with somebody who is above you or with somebody who is on your level or even somebody who is below you. But they are very competitive. Among competitive relationships, you have different kinds. The first kind is what I call the green-eyed monsters. Who is a green-eyed monster? It's people who boil with envy and fight other people's success. Green-eyed monsters. Their eyes are green. Whatever another person has threatens them. Your shoe threatens them. Your hairstyle threatens them. Your clothes threaten them. Your degrees threaten them. Everything you do. And most of the time, it happens among people who are at the same level. It can happen with people who are your bosses or your subordinates, but normally with people who are on your level, who think that the two of you should become the same every time, and that they are slightly better than you. So everything you have creates serious boiling of their blood. The second kind of competitive relationships are grabbers, people who want everything you have and more. Grabbers, not power grabbers, these are just plain grabbers. They want everything you have and more. You have a 19-inch color television, they'll get 21-inch color television. You bought a shoe and it was black, they will buy a black shoe with gold on top. They are grabbers. They want everything you have and more because they always feel they must go above other people. Competitive relationships, you have score keepers, people who keep score all the time of every situation. I did this for you, I did that for you, and I did, and remember I did that, and I did. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have been where I am. I am this, and I'm that, and I did that, and I was that, and I was that. They have records of every good deed they have done in life. And I helped this one to finish school, and I helped that one to do this, and I helped him, and when he was in trouble, I was the only one who helped him, and look at me, when that's competitive. As a matter of fact, the Bible expects us that when we do good, we forget. We don't keep score. You forget and move on. Then under competitive relationship, you have teasers. Who are teasers? Teasers are people who use what they have to belittle others. And a classic case was Hagar and Sarah. Classic case of controlling relationship is Saul and David. Competitive Hagar and Sarah. I've gotten pregnant. Hey, you couldn't get pregnant. Hey. You've been married. I just married. I've gotten pregnant. They start singing, composing songs about women who marry and can't get pregnant. And those who drink, even when they drink water, they get pregnant. So they tease you. And they make you feel like you are nothing because they got something you don't have. And it's a competitive relationship. Then we have chameleon relationships. Under chameleon relationships, you have praise singers. They lead the choir. Who are praise singers? They are people who are so eager to please that they lack integrity. They want to please so much that they become sycophants and liars. And most of such people congregate around powerful people. Once you are powerful, whether you are a senior pastor, you are a managing director, or you are boss of something, or a president or a minister of state, you will attract a large following of this group. People whose destinies are tied to their ability to please. Praise singers. And sometimes while they are singing the praise, you know, and everybody knows they are lying. You know, and everybody knows they are lying. The ancient Romans had a tradition when the Caesar was parading in their triumphs and in their big parades, and everybody was shouting, Caesar is God, and divine Caesar, and divine whoever, whether it's Tiberius or Octavius or Augustus or whoever. There is a slave that stands behind the Caesar, and whilst people are praising him, he says to his ears, remember, you are a man. Remember, you are a man. So they praise you, they say you are a God, but remember, you are a man. Every leader needs somebody to whisper that. And most of the time it's your wife. If your wife doesn't remind you that you are a man, you are in trouble. Because if your wife joins the praise singers, that's if you are a man, then you are headed for disaster. My wife would never tell me I'm a god. She makes me know I'm Mensa Otabil with 127 Fiat. So be careful of praise singers. Then under chameleon relationships, you have gossips. I wish they would stay in a corner. You know, we used to have gossip corner. But the gossips, they don't stay in a corner. They're on Main Street. They stay in the middle. Gossips, they are people who spread secrets and rumors. And then you have underminers under chameleon relations. People who undermine. People who cast innuendos on others to undercut them. And you find it a lot in working areas. A lot of chameleons. People who smile, ha, 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 and then next time they meet somewhere and undercut. They never express their true intentions. And these are very dangerous relationships. Then you have assassins under chameleon relationship. Assassins. Who is an assassin? An assassin is a person who hides and destroys others. You won't see him. He's always hiding and shooting arrows at you, and you blame others, but they are the ones doing it. Assassins are very difficult to find because you never find them. They push others to do their dirty job for them, and they hide in the secret, smile at you, and shoot you terribly. The fourth group of difficult relationship is high maintenance relationships. High maintenance relationships. And interestingly, when you look through the Bible, you find all these kinds of people. Judas, assassinator, he's there, apostle, but he's still conspiring with the high priest. And he's still apostle. He doesn't resign his job as apostle. He's apostle, conspirator. But he's still there. You go for Last Supper, he's there. You are eating, he's eating from the same bowl. You say somebody's going to betray me. Hey, minus me. As for me, I would die with you. Meanwhile, he's gotten 30 shekels of silver. He's finished his job and swearing to protect you till death. People who would kiss you and betray you, assassins. He's kissing you and you think, oh, this brother loves me, but oh yeah, he sold you and finished the deal long ago. Not every kiss is nice. And the sad thing is sometimes people behave this way and you know them. And it's difficult to deal with it, especially if you love them. Fourth group of difficult relationship is high maintenance relationships. These are relationships that are very expensive to maintain. The first group in high maintenance relationships are sponges. Who is a sponge? A person who constantly takes but never gives back. Takes everything you have, never gives back. That's a sponge. I'll never forget when I was in secondary school, there was a nice young boy. I'm sure he's changed by now. This is years ago. But, you know, we went to secondary school. I wasn't from a rich family. I just had a little petroleum jelly, Vaseline. I mean, it's not Vaseline, petroleum jelly you use for your hair and to smear your body. Just a little bottle. And, you know, the guy said, you know, Otabil, you know, I like your petroleum jelly. Yours is nice. It wasn't special, but he said it was nice. So he helped me to use all my petroleum jelly. We finished using my petroleum jelly. Then he opened his. And I said, can I take some of yours? I mean, can you believe this? He's just finished using mine. And he said, no, this is mine. It just didn't make sense. I said, but common sense should tell you we shared mine, we should share yours. But that's a sponge. A sponge takes, never gives. They take attention, they take money, they take help, they take support, but you can never depend on them. Then you have martyrs. Martyrs are people who always play the role of a victim. As for me, nobody likes me. As for me, look at how I become lengi. It's a martyr. He's always trying to act as if the whole world is against him. Nobody likes him. Nobody knows the trouble I see. Oh, I'm suffering. And this, constantly acting as if the whole world is against them. That's a martyr. It's a high maintenance relationship. Attention grabbers. Then you have wet blankets. Wet blankets are people who are constantly pessimistic. Anything you tell them positive, they will say it can't be done. It won't be done. Oh, this one is not possible. This one, it can't be done. They're constantly dampening your spirit. It's a high maintenance relationship. Then you have complainers. Complainers are people who are never satisfied no matter what. You can cut your head and put it on a plate. They won't be satisfied. Dig out your heart and put it on a plate. They won't be satisfied. I mean, if you have complainers and you work with complainers, give them the best salary package. They won't be satisfied. Treat them the best way. Die for them. Kill yourself for them. Nothing satisfied. Because they are anointed, ordained, commissioned, and sent with the grace to complain. Nothing satisfies them. So how do we deal with all these difficult people? And they are not people as if they are in Pluto. They are us.